What's up, guys? It's Mike for Sim Racing 604. Welcome back to RaceRoom, and today I'm going to be doing kind of a follow-up video on RaceRoom Racing Experience. So in the past sort of few weeks we've had a bit of a surge here at Sim Racing 604 in comments and popularity. I think thanks in large part to these guys over here. Did a couple of gear review videos, and since then the comment section has kind of been blowing up about a few things, and most notably RaceRoom. A lot of people asking me questions, is RaceRoom worth buying, and that kind of thing. So here at the start of 2018 I thought I would do another kind of mini review of RaceRoom Racing Experience and just sort of give my take on why I think this racing sim is worth your purchase. So the first thing I will say, if you're looking for the short answer of whether or not RaceRoom is worth trying, the answer is undoubtedly yes. Undoubtedly yes. I've had some great times within RaceRoom, and what you're seeing on your screen now is actually a race I did recently in VR, and by recently I mean about an hour ago, and I had such a great time doing it, and it just made me love this game once again. It's just a phenomenal sim in a lot of ways, but there are some things it does wrong, so I'm going to try and go through sort of the pros and cons of this game and hopefully give you guys some guidance and help you, try out this game if you want to. And I'm going to name some cons as well, and if those are a big deal to you, then perhaps you should swing wide of this game. So the first thing I will say is this is kind of a purist's racing game. You will not see, casual fans driving this game with a controller. And that leads to a lot of things, but most notably, it's sort of refined with the sim racer in mind. So as this game moves forward, and Sector 3 has done a fantastic job staying on top of updates, listening to the community, that kind of thing. So what we're seeing is a lot of improvements with each update, and again, it's with sim racers in mind, not the casual gamer. So that, I think, is very cool for people like myself. If you are the type that likes to play Gran Turismo Sport or Forza Motorsport 7 or something like that, and you're looking to jump into PC racing and just kind of try things out, RaceRoom may not be for you. That's, not to say there's anything wrong with GT Sport or Forza or anything like that, but this tends to be sort of on the more hardcore side of the sim world. As you can see, it's not the most beautiful game to look at. It is still running DX9, but there is a lot to love about this sim nonetheless. First thing you should know, if you're going to jump into RaceRoom, and again, if you're a sim racer with sim racing in mind, not casual racing, then I recommend you do jump in. But the first thing before you jump in you should know is that it is free to try, and I don't mean there's a demo, I mean the game itself is free. What you're adding on is content, so it's sort of, and this is kind of a stretch, but it's sort of like iRacing, but without the paid monthly subscription. So the game is free. You can go on Steam, you can download this now, of course it's PC only, and then start to add content. Now, I will warn you, please, I hope you made it this far, and I hope you'll listen to this advice. Do not go in-game and just start purchasing things, purchasing every car you like, every track you like, because although there is some fantastic content, the way to purchase this is not to just jump into the game and just start buying one by one. That's what I do for the purposes of this channel. When something new drops within RaceRoom, I typically buy it and then add it to the game. I have spent well over $100 US on this game. You don't need to do that. There are smarter ways to do that. I did a whole video dedicated to how to save money within RaceRoom. The long and short of it is there is a third-party website that sells the VRP. VRP is the in-game currency. You can buy VRP and then add content. It is much cheaper to buy the VRP first and then buy the content than it is to buy the content in-game. Please heed that advice. You can save, I think it's somewhere around 30% by buying VRP in advance. So with that in mind, if you want to just try this out, I'm going to go against everything I said over the past 2 minutes and recommend that you download the game, get it on for free through Steam, and you will get a few cars and a few tracks. You can try it out. There's a high likelihood you will not be blown away by it. If you want to be blown away and you have $10 to spend, do yourself a favor, buy either the Porsche 911 GT3R, which is what you're seeing on your screen now. This is me racing it. or you could buy the Callaway Corvette GT3 or the Mercedes-AMG GT3. All three cars are phenomenal handling cars and a real pleasure to drive in sim racing, so can't recommend that enough. And then buy yourself a track. If you want good quality road bumps, things like that, I recommend you start with Monza. So all in, this is going to cost you about $10 US to try this game out. Again, you can try it for free if you want, just to get a feel for kind of the user interface, things like that. But if you want to try some real content, I recommend strongly the 911 GT3R and Monza. I think you will have a good time, and you can start to do some races at that point. And beyond that, please refer to my other video. I'll try and link to it in the description on how to buy content. And I've also, in that video, identified some content that I feel you should buy with your different VRP levels. But certainly something that's been updated since that video is the GT3, or as they call it in RaceRoom, the GTR3. Is it right? GTR3, yeah, class. They've reworked the physics with real GT3 drivers, and it feels amazing. They're some of the best cars in sim racing in my opinion, so I recommend you go that way. So with that in mind, there's something else we need to talk about, and that is that through all these updates, pardon me, they have not stayed 100% on top of updating all the cars. So what you'll find is some of the older cars do not have nearly the physics and the handling and the force feedback that the newer cars do. Now, is that an issue? Not so much, because there's another level of this game that is really cool. Something it does probably better than any other game I know, and that is it lets you try all the cars for free. So when you go in game, you can actually test drive the cars just by clicking a test drive button, and you get to take it around a track and just get a feel for it. I recommend you do that because, again, something like the Pagani Zonda R in this game feels to me a bit lifeless. It feels like you're gliding along the track. I used to race that car a lot, but since they've updated physics on a lot of cars, that one's kind of been left behind in my opinion. Now, that's not really a race car, that's just kind of a fun car to drive around, so it doesn't affect you too much. But just be warned, there seems to be kind of tiers of cars, and the ones in the upper tier are phenomenal, and the ones in the lower tier are, in my opinion, a definitive step below that. Not undrivable by any means, but they just don't feel as well put together as some of the newer cars. So just be warned about that. Do your test drives, try the content out before you actually buy. Now, in terms of online, so the online community, I mentioned off the top that this is kind of built with sim racers in mind, not casual gamers. So when you go into the online mode, you might not find as many lobbies and things like that as you were hoping to. You might not find the exact class of car you want to drive right away. There are a lot of leagues that use RaceRoom, but also you can just jump in and do online. It's not as populated as, say, GT Sport or something like that. But what you do find is the people who are there to race. It's different in that regard from GT Sport. I played a lot of GT Sport online, and what I found was there's a lot of people there just to cause mayhem. And Project Cars 2 is that, but a lesser degree. There are people there just to bump you. If they're leading the whole race, you happen to catch them, you might get spun. I find a lot less of that in RaceRoom personally. It seems like there's more true sim racers, people there to actually race. If they lose, they lose. If they take a lesson from it, that kind of thing. So the online I find is very good. Again, less populated than some of the bigger titles, but still the people who are there to race, so it's very good in that regard. I have actually been spun racing online before, been pitted and had people pull over, let me pass them and resume the race. That's something you don't find in all games, so great community, great online community. In terms of single player, if you're like me and you kind of prefer single player at times because you don't want to necessarily wait for a lobby in a given sim, or a race I should say, then I will tell you there is no quote-unquote single player mode in this. There's no career, but you can set up custom championships. Of course, there's AI races, things like that. How is the AI? Depends. You can ask me month to month and I'll probably give a different answer. As you've seen with this race on screen, the AI is for the most part quite well behaved. You do have to sort of watch yourself. They will pit you at times. You need to be conscious of them in your mirrors. That's why the VR helps. More on that in a second. But you do have to kind of be aware of them and kind of watch yourself going into corners. But overall, it is quite good. I've had some really, really awesome DTM races early in my RaceRoom experience. I was racing the DTM 16 pack, which I love, and the AI was very well behaved, and I had some great races. I have also had times, and if you guys saw my video on what's the best AI in sim racing, I've had other times where I get pitted for no reason and been ready to throw my wheel out the window. So kind of a grain of salt on that. For the most part, it's well behaved. If I was giving it a grade, giving the AI a grade, I would say probably a B minus, something like that. Still very, very drivable, but there are some frustrating times where I feel I hold the racing line and I still get knocked out. So take that with a grain of salt. Now, I mentioned VR a second ago. So in terms of graphics, so as you can see, this is not something that is going to win any awards for graphics. It's a notch below Assetto Corsa, in my opinion. It's a notch below GT Sport, Project Cars 2, things like that. However, it does not deter from the game. It's not so bad to where you're looking at it going, this is unimpressive. It's just doesn't pop, and that's fine. It's built on the DX9, so it's kind of a generation behind in terms of graphics, but I still find it quite visually appealing. Again, it doesn't pop. It's not eye-catching, but it's doesn't deter from the fantastic drivability of this game. So something they have added recently is triple screen support. So those of you that run triples, by the way, congratulations on being so rich. I wish I could afford triples. But triple screen support is now added to RaceRoom. It came late in 2017, as did VR. Or actually, I don't know when VR was added, but anyway, VR is in there now. It's just a simple add to within Steam. You just set your launch options. You go dash VR. Done. You're good to go. And the VR is very, very good. Some of the detailing inside the cars, especially the older cars, you see legs kind of blending into the floor panels, things like that. But all in all, it's quite smooth. And again, that DX9 is not too taxing on your video card generally, so you keep your frame rate up. So again, VR is something very cool to have. I think most of the major sims now have that. Automobilista maybe being the notable exception. But VR support is good to have. So overall, graphically, I think it's very, very good. Again, this sort of technology, the backbone of it is a generation behind, but it does not deter from the racing, in my opinion. Jumping into sound. Where do I start? It's fantastic. It really is. There's just not enough superlatives to talk about the sound in RaceRoom. They do an amazing job. I'm robbing you guys of it right now. I've got the volume turned way down so you can hear my stupid voice, but once you're actually in the game, the engine sounds, the transmission whines, just everything, the curbs, the gravel, the bumps with it, it's just amazing. Amazing. It really is immersive. For me, I run VR, so once I have the VR headset on and a good set of headphones, it's fully immersive. I just lose myself in this game, and it's just so fantastic, that sound. It really does add a layer. You wouldn't necessarily think that sound would do too much. Maybe it's just, to impress your buddies. No, the sound actually adds to the immersion here. It's loud. They set the overall amplitude very, very loud, so it kind of drowns out everything else in the room and does add to that immersion. I recommend, if you have a good set of headphones, you at least try the demo of this game. If you've got this far and you're not sold, I recommend that you try this with a good set of headphones or a really good set of speakers, and make your neighbors really mad. Turn this up. Trust me, it's worth it. It's worth it. It'll be worth that eviction notice. The sound is phenomenal. What else did I want to talk about? The force feedback. So the force feedback, again, they've reworked and I'll tie in kind of physics and handling into the force feedback discussion. So they've reworked a lot of it, especially with the GTR3 class, aka GT3 in the real world, and it feels phenomenal. It really does. It's enhanced by having a direct drive wheel. Those of you who happen to have a direct drive wheel, you will get a lot out of this game. I'm now running a direct drive wheel. My T300, this game was very, very good. It goes next level with a direct drive, but by no means should you think that you have to have a direct drive wheel. It's just not a necessity. But regardless of what wheel you're driving, something that this game again does very, very well is allow you control over the force feedback to the nth degree. So if you go into the control settings and set your force feedback, there is a multitude of sliders. And Gamer Muscle, if you head over to the Gamer Muscle channel, he did a great review on the force feedback settings in this game and tells you how to set it. I kind of did my own video based on that. Quite frankly, Gamer Muscle, I think, did it better. So head over there and you can kind of check out the different force feedback settings that you can use in RaceRoom Racing Experience. And there's a ton. So regardless of what wheel you're driving, you can turn things up, turn things down, almost like no other game. I don't know that I know of any other game, possibly iRacing, but there's not too many on the level of RaceRoom in terms of what you can set for force feedback. And they do a great job of it. It does take some time because there's the general main menu settings, but also in-game there's further settings, and it allows you to get it really dialed in. If you boot it up, you're not happy, you can tweak this thing again to the nth degree and make it feel really great for you. So talking about content now, vehicle and track selection. So the vehicle selection is huge. Something it's missing is open wheelers. There's not much going on in the way of open wheelers. If you're here looking for F1 style games, Assetto Corsa is the way to go, quite frankly. With not only the base content and you know, add-on packs for Assetto Corsa, but also the mod community. That's the way it goes, or that's the way to go, I should say, is Assetto Corsa if you're just in it for open wheelers. There is a small open wheel presence in RaceRoom, but it's not fantastic. They recently released the FRX 17, which is loosely based on the 27... I guess a modern Formula 1 car plus a V10 engine. Sounds phenomenal, drives really cool, but it's not authentic to anything. So again, if your main purpose of your driving, or your main focus of your driving is the open wheelers, probably swing wide of RaceRoom because there is no mod community, unfortunately. But as far as closed wheel cars, there's a bunch of different things. There's World Touring cars, there's DTM, there's GT3, there's GT2, just a huge selection of cars, huge selection of leagues, and the best thing about it, each is not populated with one or two cars, each has a whole bunch of different cars, so you're going to be able to have massive races. I think there's 18 GT3 cars in this game now, which is incredible. That's incredible. I know a lot of you guys like to race GT3, myself included, as you can tell by what's on the screen. And 18 cars is amazing. You're probably never going to exhaust the supply of GT3 cars. No Ferrari license, no Lamborghini license, but there are some dream cars in there. I mentioned the Pagani earlier, that's in this game, and there's a few others as well. Again, they acquired a Porsche license. There's one Porsche pack out, not a Porsche pack, sorry, there's 3 Porsche cars available as of right now. More coming in 2018, and I believe there's more coming in 2019 as well, so they've got a lot planned there. Got to wrap this up, guys. There's only a couple laps left in this race. I didn't know it would take this long to go through, but yeah, so car selection, very good. A lot of different leagues, but again, it's focused on closed wheel, but don't think that you're missing much by not having open wheel. There's a ton of content here. I recommend browsing through. You can browse through the store or in-game and probably find a car that's right for you. There's a lot of great ones to try. I may even do a video on my favorite cars in RaceRoom. You never know. And tracks, they've got all the major ones covered, I believe. You know, the ones that are common to Sims. You're looking at Spa right now. There's Monza, there's Imola. There's a bunch of them. Red Bull Ring is there. Anyway, a bunch of official like F1 tracks, and then a bunch of smaller European tracks as well, which really keeps it interesting. So it's not just the ones you're necessarily familiar with, it's also ones like Falkenberg. I never even heard of Falkenberg before I got this game, then I bought it. It was a somewhat recent ad, and I love the track. So you never know when you're going to find a great track that just wasn't on your radar before. So RaceRoom, big thumbs up for the track selection as well. There's a ton of them, and if you're watching this early 2018, they are all on sale for 50% off right now. And okay, so content very good. It doesn't seem to be short on anything. The one small knock is the open wheel selection is very short. Wrapping this up very soon, guys. So wanted to talk about as I check my notes here. Mod community. So I mentioned for content for Cars and Tracks, there is no mod community. That's absolutely true. So even Race Department, which has about 8,000 mods right now for Assetto Corsa, has I think 9 for RaceRoom, and they're all just kind of throw-ins. There's not much there that's going to change the way you play this game. So it seems to be more or less non-existent mod community, so you just have to take that with a grain of salt. So all we can do is buy the content that Sector 3 gives us. So this could be kind of a deal breaker for some, but not for me. I think the base content is good enough, and I've never really wanted anything. If somebody were to break the doors open and add F1 cars, it would be amazing, but again, not a necessity. I really love the content in RaceRoom as it is. So I think that's it. Alright guys, so thank you so much for watching, and to give you kind of an idea of the sound in this game, I will I'll run this race again in replay because it was an exciting race, and I'm not going to give away the ending. It's a very close ending. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you next time. So in summary, RaceRoom, very good sim. Totally recommend you get out there and at least try it. The demo may not blow your mind, or sorry, the base content, the free content may not blow your mind, but if you have about $10 US to add, you know, Imola or Monza or something like that, and one of the new GT3 cars, be it the 911 GT3R, the Callaway Corvette, or the Mercedes AMG GT3, I highly recommend it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you next time.